At family dinner, my dad announced, "You gave nothing to our family. Get out of my house." Trembling, I grabbed my jacket and left. 2 weeks later, I received 30 messages from him asking, "Why did you stop paying the mortgage?" I smiled and replied, "You said I didn't give anything to our family, so pay it yourself." Later, it was funny to watch my golden family falling apart without me. My father told me to get out of the house I paid for. And he said it in front of everyone. It was my niece's birthday dinner, and like any so-called family gathering, it was slowly turning into one of those passive-aggressive interrogations masquerading as conversation. We sat around the same table we had since I was in 8th grade. Same chairs, same dusty chandelier, same routine. But that night, something inside me snapped. It started with a joke. My dad raised his glass and said Alex was lucky to have a place to live, what with the economy and all. Everyone laughed. Except me. I just stared down at my plate. Because the place Alex was lucky enough to live in, I was the one who paid the mortgage. Every month. Quietly. Without fail. My parents stopped working years ago. Said they earned early retirement. My dad called it freedom, even though they weren't even close to 60. No savings, no plan. Just a sudden decision and the assumption that their oldest son would pick up the slack. And I did. I paid their bills. I paid off their debts. I even gave them an allowance every month, just to avoid the guilt. Alex moved in a year after them. Job hopping, 2 kids, no insurance, car breaking down all the time. He said he just needed a few months to get back on his feet. That was 14 months ago. I was paying more than the mortgage at that point. I was feeding 6 people, keeping the lights on, paying off credit cards that weren't mine, and buying food that I never ate. When I finally said, "Maybe someone else can start helping out a little," the whole room went silent. My mom asked what I meant. My father leaned back and crossed his arms like a judge waiting for a confession. I explained, briefly, that I'd been the one paying for everything quietly, because I thought it was the right thing to do, but that I was getting tired. No attacks. No shouting. Just honesty. Then came the silence. The long, humming kind that makes your skin itch. And after maybe 10 seconds, my father stood up, looked right at me, and said, "You have given nothing to this family. Get out of my house." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't blink. It was like it wasn't even a dramatic moment for him. Just a simple fact. I didn't ask if he meant it. I just got up, grabbed my jacket, and walked out. The funny part? I didn't even have a key to the house anymore. Not because they took it from me, but because I never needed it. I had paid for the roof, the walls, the water, and the heat. But it had never been mine. 2 weeks passed. Not a word from anyone. I figured they were too proud to admit they needed me, so I let it go. Until one Thursday afternoon, my phone suddenly exploded. 30 messages from my dad. 30 variations on the same theme. "Why did you stop paying the mortgage?" The panic in the texts was almost theatrical. He didn't say he was sorry. He didn't ask where I'd gone. He just wanted to know why the bank was calling. I didn't ignore him. I answered him once. "You said I did not give anything to the family. So now you can pay it yourself." That was it. No threats. No explanations. Just a mirror held up to the lie they'd been telling themselves for years. I blocked his number that night. What happened next surprised even me. The lies they started telling to cover up the payments that stopped. The way they turned on each other. It was like watching a house of cards come tumbling down in slow motion. And I wasn't done with them. After I sent that one message. "You said I gave nothing to the family? So now you can pay yourself." I blocked his number and sat on my mattress in the middle of my mostly empty apartment. No furniture yet, just a few boxes, a coffee maker, and my laptop on the floor. But for the first time in years, I felt like I could finally breathe. No more surprise bills. No more. "Can you just cover this one thing?" texts. No more showing up at family gatherings that I funded but was never invited to. They didn't know where I'd moved, and I liked it that way. I signed the lease 2 days after I left that dinner, picked a building across town in a neighborhood they never had a reason to go to, and paid half a year's rent up front. All the utilities in my name, all my mail forwarded. Clean slate. Like they never existed. I heard nothing for about 10 days. Not a peep. I thought maybe they were proud enough to let the silence last until something cracked. I wasn't going to be the one to crack. I filled my days with work, came home to a quiet apartment, ate what I wanted, slept when I wanted. I even started sleeping with my phone on Do Not Disturb. That was new. Then I got a text from Rachel, a woman who lived a few doors down from my parents. We weren't close, but she always had a front row seat to their lives. She sent me a photo of a bright orange notice taped to their front door. Foreclosure warning. I guess they thought I was bluffing. A few days later, I got a call from an unknown number while I was in a meeting. I let it go to voicemail. It was Alex. His voice sounded oddly calm, like he'd rehearsed it. "Hey Mason. So, things are a little crazy around here. Dad's stressed. Mom's not feeling well. We didn't know the mortgage hadn't been paid. You know how things get lost in the shuffle. We're just asking if you could help us out for a few more months. Just until we can figure something out. I mean, we're family." I didn't call back. I didn't even listen to the whole message. A few days later, the desperation really started to show. My dad called my office. He actually got through to the receptionist and asked to speak to me directly. I told them it was an emergency. I was pulled into a strangely uncomfortable meeting with HR. I had to sit there and explain to two people in suits that no, I wasn't involved in any legal issues. No, I wasn't hiding anything. And no, they didn't need to worry about my dad showing up at the office. That's when I realized he was unraveling. So I unblocked his number for a minute. Just long enough to send this. "If you ever try to mess with my job again, I'll tell the internet everything. Every last detail." Then I blocked him again. But the messages kept coming from all over. My brother started using his wife's cell phone. My mom was emailing me from an old AOL account she hadn't used in years. My uncle texted me asking what the hell was going on, and why Dad said I'd turned on the family. It spread fast. Their version, anyway. They told people I had some kind of breakdown. That I'd stolen from them. That I had cut off my family after they took me in. Took me in? I paid for the roof. I was the reason they had a refrigerator with food and a working air conditioner last summer. I didn't react to any of it. But I kept watching. The real fun began when I unplugged a few other things they didn't know I controlled. Their Netflix account was in my name. Gone. Spotify, also mine. Their phones? Still on the family plan I paid for. Cancelled. I even logged into the Ring doorbell and watched my dad find out in real time that the internet was cut off. Every time I cut something, it felt less like revenge and more like surgery. Like I was removing a part of my life that had been infected for too long. They had no idea how much of their lives I was quietly funding. Because to them, my value was only measured in what I provided. And the moment I stopped being useful, they pushed me out like I was nothing. So I decided to show them what nothing looked like. And that was just the beginning. It wasn't enough to just disappear. At first I thought it would be enough to cut them off. But the deeper I watched them spiral, the more I realized they weren't just falling apart, they were rewriting history. I started getting texts from people I hadn't heard from in years. A cousin in Nevada. An old high school friend. Even my godmother. All asking the same thing in different words. "What's going on with your family?" It didn't take long to figure out that my dad had gone into full propaganda mode. He told people that I had turned my back on them after all they'd done for me. Claimed that I had refused to help during a hard time. Made it sound like I was some rich tech guy who suddenly got too big for the people who raised him. They painted themselves as victims. Poor, abandoned retirees left to suffer by their heartless son. And they believed it. Some of them, anyway. Because that's how good my parents were at playing the long game, presenting themselves as wholesome, selfless, hardworking. Except none of it was true. Not anymore. So I decided to tell the real story. I created a Reddit account. Threw together a post on one of those financial support subs. Just facts. No names. No anger. I explained how I had paid my parents' mortgage, bills, food, and even my brother's expenses for over 3 years. How they retired early without a plan because they assumed I'd take care of everything. How I finally said I was tired and they kicked me out of the house I was paying for. I didn't even get to the part about my dad calling my job. I was saving that. Within 12 hours, the post had over 20,000 upvotes. People were commenting all the time, telling their own stories, tagging each other. There was outrage. Shock. sympathy, and some well-placed anger at people like my father who manipulate others into thinking that blood means obligation. I didn't say I was. I didn't have to. The people it was about knew. Within 2 days, the post was on TikTok. A woman with 1 million followers read it out loud with dramatic music playing in the background. I didn't plan that part. But it helped. Then I started getting emails. Not from strangers, no, they were from family members. The same ones who had ignored me for years unless they needed something. Suddenly they wanted my side of the story. Some of them were deeply sorry, and had no idea. One even offered to help me move if I needed space. I didn't respond to any of them. I just took screenshots. Then my dad tried to call again. From a burner number, I think. I answered. Just once. You think you're smart? He said. Putting our business online? No, I said. I think I'm being honest. You're ruining our reputation. You ruined mine first. He hung up. The next morning, I posted an update. A second Reddit post with more details. I added the part about the job. The voicemail. The manipulation. Still no names, still no direct references. Just the truth. The comments section exploded again. This time people started digging. They found public records. Tax liens. A foreclosure filing that had just become public. A few pieced together the location. My inbox flooded with people who'd seen the house on Zillow, listed as a fixer-upper with a pending sale. And then it hit me, they were selling the house. My parents were trying to sell the house I'd paid for to cover their mistakes, as if they'd always owned it. Probably hoping to cash out before the bank took it all. I had every receipt. Every payment. Every transfer and statement. And I wasn't going to just sit back and watch them profit. I was going to shut them down. When I saw that the house was for sale, I felt something change in me. I wasn't angry, I was surgical. These weren't people making a mistake anymore. They were thieves trying to turn a lie into profit. A house they had called their legacy was being marketed online with fake renovations, a made-up backstory, and an asking price that made my jaw drop. I knew the agent. A little guy who went to church with them. I called his office, asked a few innocent questions as a potential buyer, and then dropped the bomb. By the way, are you aware that this property is in foreclosure? He paused. He asked who I was. I told him to check the title. Then he hung up. The next call was to the bank. I didn't threaten, didn't beg. Just told them I had documentation proving that I had made all payments on this property from my account for the last 3 years, and I was willing to produce it if they needed to verify anything about the financial history. That got their attention. They immediately flagged the house. No sale, no listing. Frozen. I found out later that day that my dad went ballistic on the realtor and then went to the bank. Tried to claim I was lying, forging payments, dragging the family name through the mud. The branch manager, someone I'd worked with when I first set up the automatic payment, coldly shut him down. Apparently he told him, "You don't want to push this." I didn't even know he had it in him. Respect. That night, my brother sent me a message from another new number. This one was long. He was trying a different approach, guilt. Said the kids were scared, that dad was drinking again, that mom hadn't left her room in days. Said I took things too far. Taking things too far. I played the voicemail again. The one where he said I was family, and that I should just stick it out for a few more months. Then I deleted his message without responding. By the end of the week, the utilities were shut off. My name was still on some of the accounts, they had no idea, so I shut those off, too. I had paid for water and gas. Both gone. Trash pickup? Cancelled. Internet was already dead. The house was falling apart, not just structurally, but in layers. No lights. No heat. No plan. It became a local story. Small town, bored people, curious neighbors. The Anderson house is in foreclosure. Whispers. Speculation. My parents, who loved attention, but only the curated kind, had to start dodging neighbors instead of welcoming them. Then one night I got a call from a blocked number. I answered without thinking. It was my mother. She wasn't screaming. Didn't cry. She just said, "What do you want?" I didn't answer right away. I actually laughed a little. "You want to know what I want?" I said. "I want to thank you. Years ago. I wanted recognition. Or at least respect. I wanted someone to say, "Hey, thanks for keeping us afloat," when no one else would. But now, I don't want anything from you. Silence. Then she said, "You're ruining this family." "No," I said. "I've just stopped letting you ruin me." Then I hung up. They never called that number again. And I wasn't done. Because the house wasn't the only thing they were trying to sell. Once the house was in foreclosure limbo, I thought they'd go quiet. Accept it, maybe try to lay low. But my parents weren't built that way. They were never interested in solving problems, just hiding them. And when the house was no longer their lifeline, they reached for something else. They started trying to sell my car. It was still technically in their driveway. I had left it there after I got my new place, planning to sell it in my own time. Still registered to me. Still insured by me. But apparently they figured if it was on their property, they had some kind of right. I got a tip from another neighbor, Rachel again. She texted me a blurry photo of two guys in polo shirts standing in the driveway looking under the hood of my car. One of them was holding a clipboard. I immediately called the police. 20 minutes later, I got a voicemail on my dad's number. He didn't even sound surprised. "You want to play games, fine. But don't leave your junk on my property." I filed a police report that night. The next day, I showed up with a tow truck, paperwork, and a very polite officer who watched as I took back what was mine. My mother stood behind the screen door and didn't say a word. My dad was out. I didn't care. The real kicker? As we were loading the car into the truck, Alex came out and tried to act like nothing had happened. Said he was going to call me. Said things had gotten out of hand. He was actually trying to tell me that he'd been caught in the middle. Like he wasn't the one sending me voicemails asking me to keep paying when he knew exactly what was going on. I didn't respond. I just nodded, signed the papers, and left. That night, I made the third and final Reddit post. This one was the full timeline. Still anonymous, still clean, but I laid out every receipt, payments, screenshots, texts, even the part where they tried to sell the car. I didn't rant. I didn't gloat. I just told the truth. Every raw, ridiculous part of it. The post exploded. It was picked up by a few blogs, spread again on TikTok, and before I knew it, people were sharing it as a warning about how golden families can rot when money replaces love, when obligation replaces gratitude. I never said it was me. I didn't have to. The people who matter knew. That week, the house was officially repossessed by the bank. No sale, no profit, just an empty shell on a cul-de-sac. I didn't celebrate. I just watched the listing disappear online and went back to work. I started sleeping better. I ate better. I bought a couch. Got a cat. I took a short trip for the first time in years and didn't worry about someone calling for help. But the biggest change? I started telling people the truth when they asked about my family. Not the sanitized version. Not, "We don't talk much." I told them I paid for everything, got kicked out, and let it all burn when they pushed me too far. And you'd be surprised how many people nodded and said, "Yeah, I get it." The best part? They still think I'm going to come back someday. They have no idea that I already did, quietly, just to make sure the damage landed exactly where it was supposed to. The house was stripped and cold the last time I saw it. I didn't go there on purpose, it was on my way to a client meeting, just a few blocks away. Out of curiosity, I took the long way and drove by slowly. The lawn was overgrown, the mailbox was open, no curtains on the windows. A chain lock on the front gate. The kind of look that tells you everything inside has fallen apart long before it did outside. I didn't feel much. No anger, no satisfaction. Just distance. Like looking at the set of an old movie I used to be in. Something I'd outgrown, survived, and now watched from afar. A week later, I received an email from the bank confirming that the foreclosure was complete. There was a short line at the end thanking me for cooperation and documentation. I deleted the message after reading it twice. That was the last real connection I had to the house. After that, it was somebody else's problem. I didn't keep track of my parents. But things were trickling in. Alex and his family had to move in with his wife's parents. He told them I'd blindsided everyone, betrayed the family, abandoned my responsibility. That word responsibility. That was always the trick, wasn't it? Wrapping a selfish demand in duty and calling it love. I guess he hoped they'd feel sorry for him. Maybe they did. Maybe they found out eventually. I didn't really care. He hadn't messaged me since that last voicemail asking for just a few more months. That voicemail lives in a folder on my laptop called Reminders. My parents ended up in a rented duplex about 40 minutes away in a part of town they used to complain about. Mom's car was sold. Dad's truck was towed. No more Friday night dinners, no more weekend barbecues, no more birthday speeches about how family sticks together. It all disappeared the moment I stopped funding them. I heard through an old mutual connection someone I worked with part-time before I graduated that my father told people I had turned against them. He said I had gone crazy and let the money poison me. He left out the part where he kicked me out at dinner in front of everyone. He left out the part where I paid his bills while he played golf 4 times a week. The beautiful thing was that people didn't buy it. Some even contacted me to say they were sorry they didn't know the whole story. That felt weird. Not good, just weird. Because for so long I thought no one would ever take my side. And then suddenly strangers on the internet, and people I hadn't spoken to in years were saying, "You did the right thing." And they were right. I didn't ruin my family. I didn't tear anyone apart. I held things together with duct tape and blind loyalty until the very people I was holding up told me I didn't matter. So I left. And when they came for me, I didn't scream or beg or fight. I just showed everyone the truth. The final Reddit post got 1 million views in less than a week. People tagged it with phrases like financial abuse, golden child scapegoat, cutting toxic family. I didn't reply to most of the comments, but I read every single one. Not because I needed support, but because I needed to know that I wasn't crazy. That someone else out there had been used the same way, broken the same way, and finally stood up the same way. And now, I live in a place that's quiet. Clean. Mine. No one else's bills in my name. No one else's stress bleeding into my mornings. I bought a coffee table because I like the color. I have a couch that no one has ever crashed on. I have a cat that only requires food, water, and the occasional insult hurled at a bird through the window. I still work. Still go for walks. Still get invited to weddings and baby showers and office parties. Life goes on. Only now I'm in it, not dragging it behind me like dead weight. I don't answer calls from numbers I don't know. I don't respond to long-lost relatives trying to check in. I don't make vacation plans. I don't hate them. That would be giving them too much space in my life. I just don't acknowledge them. They became strangers the moment they decided I wasn't useful anymore. And maybe that's the best ending I could have hoped for. Not revenge. Not victory. Just peace. A clean break. No more pretending. Because in the end, I did everything right. I gave until I had nothing left. I left before I lost myself. And when they turned on me, I didn't crumble. I exposed them. Now I wake up alone. But free. And that's worth more than anything they ever gave me.